Hi, I'm Darren Douglas, and welcome to the course introduction for RedHat Linux System Administration Part 1. The purpose of this course is to help you learn Red Hat Linux administration. Red Hat is a registered trademark of Red Hat Incorporated. Linux is a registered trademark of Linus Torvalds, the original author of the Linux kernel. Now, within this course, we have several objectives. One is to learn to perform the tasks of a Red Hat Linux system administrator. As you know, system administration is a role and a responsibility that goes far beyond just the average user. This is an individual who knows how to perform the daily tasks to keep Red Hat Linux systems running at their optimal performance, providing services to the IT organization. We'll also introduce topics unique to the management of RedHat-based Linux distributions. The idea or the concept that Linux is Linux just simply isn't true. Based upon which Red Hat-based distribution we're using, there may be differences. And if you're experienced using other Linux distributions, such as Ubuntu or Debian, well, there are key differences. And there are tools within Red Hat that we really want to be able to use. We also will consider real-world examples and exercises that provide practical application of installation, system startup, software management, and storage configuration concepts, so that we won't just talk about these concepts and walk through slides. Instead, I'll demonstrate for you things that you'll be doing on a day-to-day basis if you are working as a Linux system administrator using Red Hat. So, some of those common tasks that we'll perform are things such as installation of a Red Hat-based operating system. We'll access the system to perform administration tasks. We'll configure the boot and startup sequences of the system. We'll shut down the system using multiple methods that we'll demonstrate. Install, upgrade, uninstall software, all of which are part of the daily tasks of a system administrator. Understand the file system organization of Linux. Why are files where they are? What's the difference between different types of files? And we'll also learn how to manage storage through disk partitioning and utilization of the LVM utility. Now, there are certain things that you should have in place in order to be successful in this class. Here are some prerequisites. You'll need to take the Linux Essentials course provided by GoGo or a similar course and have experience that comes from a classroom experience like that, such as practical experience using Linux and Unix OSs. That means that you're comfortable using command line tools to navigate files and directories, that you can easily modify text files, move files from one location to another, change configuration files, and so on. Those are all very important. Also, a basic understanding of TCP/IP networking principles is also helpful. We don't need you to be a networking expert, but just understanding what a host name does, how a IP can be configured, concepts like DHCP, DNS, just the very basics of TCP/IP networking will be very helpful for this course. So specifically within this course, here are the modules that we'll consider during this first part of the class. Linux Basics and System Setup. I'll actually help you out with the prereqs. We'll do a little bit of a review, or a refresher if you will, to walk through some of the basics that we need you to remember and have firmly in hand before we begin some of these advanced system administration topics we're going to consider. We'll go into OS installation in two parts. We'll consider also how to access the system to do our work on it. How do we access it if we're remote? How do we access the system if we're sitting right in front of it? What's the best method to do so? Is there a way to do it without passing usernames and passwords? All of those will be considered in this section. System startup. A system administrator really needs to know what is happening behind the scenes when the power is applied to a machine. When that computer is turned on, what takes place from the moment when the power is applied to the moment that is ready for user interaction. All those will be covered in the system startup phase. System shutdown is pretty straightforward, but as you know, there's more to shutting down a system than just pressing the power button. So specific ways to shut down the system gracefully and with the control of a mature system administrator will be considered during that particular module. We'll consider two different ways to manage software. Manually with RPM and in a more automated manner with Yum. We'll compare the two tools and we'll show you how to use both of them to install, update, query, and uninstall software. File systems. We'll consider the purpose of special file systems in the system, understand what the difference is between static and dynamic files, and how Linux standardizes those files across distributions. Specifically, we'll see how Red Hat has applied those. We'll also learn about virtual file systems. What is a virtual file? What information can it provide? And why should we really be familiar with the virtual file systems on our servers? We'll lastly pick up with disk partitioning and logical volume manager. Learn how to carve up our disks to provide the best possible storage configuration, and then learn how to use tools from LVM to manage how those disks appear logically to the end users. Now, this course doesn't stand alone. As we mentioned, we have this system administration class that's in two parts that you're engaged in now. To be successful in this class, you should have taken Linux Essentials. And after you're done with this class, you can move on to learn more specifically about web server administration, specific with Linux, or you might learn how to use Bash and Corn shell scripting to really leverage the power of those tools as you apply the basics you've learned in the system administration course. Remember that you can download lab exercises from the paperclip link. There are a few cases where I've created some exercises that you can practice some of the key concepts on your own and really learn how to do these by putting your hands on the computer, putting the hands on the system, and really learning how to implement these solutions. If you have questions or comments, please use the question and comments box, and we'll get started with the course.